Ahead on the latest edition of the Tiger Football Report, we'll chat with the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose, as the Tigers now sit at 0-2 in the CAA after a tough loss to Stony Brook at home. Later in the show, we'll preview the Tigers' next opponent when they hit the road to take on a longtime rival. We'll talk all about that and more as the Tiger Football Report starts now. Hello, Tiger fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Tiger Football Report. I'm the voice of the Tigers, Spiro Marikas. The Tigers were not able to get on the winning track last week, as heading into Saturday's game, everyone was expecting a defensive battle between the Seawolves of Stony Brook and Towson, and that is exactly what we got. Stony Brook's top-ranked defense held the Tigers to just 3 points, but the Tigers' defense held their own, as it was just a one-score game most of the way through until the Seawolves punched in a late touchdown with under 2 minutes left to take a 14-3 lead, and that is how the game ended. The loss dropped Towson to just 2-4 overall and 0-2 in the CAA. And with that said, let's bring in the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. And Coach, let's start right away. First drive of the game, you're moving right down the field. You get to the 14-yard line, and then an interception and a turnover. And if there's one thing I know annoys you more than anything else in the world, it's a turnover in the red zone.
That's true. No, it's you described it well. We found a way to do something against Stony Brook that almost no one had done to date, which is open the game and drive down the field. It just doesn't happen to them. And the kids were prepared. There was a good plan in place. Connor threw a little bit high, got tipped, picked off, and again we get down there, we do what we need to do, but we need to come away with points, and we need to not give points away. And in the end, those things add up. In the fourth quarter, you're behind.
Second quarter, you have first and goal at the 1-yard line. Well, maybe turnovers in the red zone don't annoy you as much as penalties at the 1-yard line.
Penalties at the 1-yard line after you're in the end zone? Yeah. At hazards of playing your fifth and fourth fullbacks, then the change of personnel groups, these guys have to call out the personnel groups to get in, and didn't get communicated well enough. So a formation that has same names in two different groups. One has the wideout on the ball and one doesn't. We blocked the thing to a T. We drove them off the ball. Actually, our fifth-string fullback, I don't say that very often, blocked one of their better linebackers 8 yards into the end zone. I mean, it couldn't have been any more perfect. But it is the little things, and the little things kept us out of the end zone from scoring points.
Halftime you go in, it's just 7-3, and obviously you've moved the ball against Stony Brook as well as anybody, including UConn, had done this year. What do you tell the team at the half?
That if we stop shooting ourselves in the foot, we're going to win this game going away. That's all we got to do. Stay true to what we know how to do and finish this. Don't make this. Hold on to it. Hold on. Strain mentally enough that you're not going to go backwards. You're not going to do anything wrong. And that's it. All we have to do is go do our job. And it wasn't rocket science. Offensively, the issues, clearly we're losing Jake Shunke meant shuffling the offensive line again. And you could tell from the second half that the continuity just wasn't there. We thought we might get Jake back, but couldn't do it. Didn't find out right before kickoff that he wasn't going to be able to go. And that certainly played havoc with what we were trying to get done up front.
Yeah, obviously Darius Victor had over 50 yards in the first half. I think he had 2 yards in the second half. So there was a big change when you had to make that line move.
Well, it just goes to show you that the running backs are clearly talented, both of them. But it is the line play that makes the difference and make or break in your successes. And as much as we did to put those kids in good situations, we weren't helpless, but we weren't as consistent as we've been for the last couple of weeks.
Then you get late in the third quarter, you get the ball, move it, start of the fourth quarter, you get down to the 29-yard line, and the drive bogs down again. It's still just a 7-3 game. Mm-hmm. You bring on Sam Hurwitz to try a field goal that would make it a 1-point game, which means less pressure on your offense late in the game. They don't have to score a touchdown, just got to move down to get a field goal, but the field goal gets blocked. What happened on that play?
Sam took a swing at it, didn't get the ball up very high, and hit one of the defenders in the face. And not only was it a block kick, but they gained field position off of it, which hurt.
So the Tigers fall to Stony Brook by a score of 14-3. What do you say to this young team after the football game? Because again, for the last 3 years, this team's had nothing but success in conference play. Now all of a sudden you're behind the 8 ball at 0-2.
Well, in per what you said, yes, the team that plays for this school has had that kind of success. Right. But more than half of this team did not play in those games. So all the lessons, while they've heard the lessons, they are truly learning the lessons as they go. And, I give them a lot of credit in being, especially in offense and all the injuries that we have, that this next man up mentality, we're still having the ability to be in these games, to win these games. And it's a credit to the kids and it's a credit to the staff. But in the end, it is the smallest things that keep you from winning and losing, and especially in tight games. And you go back to some of the games that we've come from behind in the past, and it was truly us taking care of the little things in critical times with confidence that allowed us to win. And in our youthfulness, we are just not that confident yet. I said this in the press conference, the little things, it's not in the first quarter, the second quarter, first down, second down, but 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, or the fourth quarter when you truly need it. There's no play that is ever bigger than another when you have confidence, when you've taken care of the little things on the regular. And when you know your job and you know what you're supposed to do. But that's one thing. But when you know exactly what you're supposed to do and exactly the technique you're supposed to do versus exactly who you're playing, there's no thought, there's no nothing. You just go play, and it's fun. We're 2/3 of the way there.
Always ask about how the kids respond. What about the coaching staff? I mean, again, the last 3 years, you guys have had nothing but success. Now, all of a sudden, you're at 2-4. How does the coaching staff deal with this from a mental aspect?
We're all competitors. We are. We want to win. It doesn't really matter what it is. And, I either got 2 guys on the staff. You're either the guy that wants to win or the guy that hates to lose. And if you're not one of those 2 guys, you're probably not working here. So it's hard for them. It really is. And they're working every day to find the best in these kids. And they love doing it. But the reward is in the winning. It truly is. It's in the winning. So it's been frustrating, and it's been my job to keep the morale high and keep them focused moving forward, and just letting them know that whatever they bring to the table in their individual meeting rooms is what they're going to get from these kids, and that young players will rise and fall to the level of expectations of their mentors. So if they set the standard high and they keep a face moving forward, then we will keep moving forward. And if they whine and moan, then that's what they can expect from their kids. So after we got through that and suffered through Sunday, we got back on the horse again and got back to work.
And hopefully the Tigers will get the win streak going again this week against James Madison. Still to come on the Tiger Football Report, we'll discuss some of the Tigers' individual performances from the game against Stony Brook, and later we'll preview the Tigers' Week 7 matchup with the James Madison Dukes. You don't want to miss it. The Tiger Football Report will return after this quick break.
Virtual Wallet can help you be that person who's good with money. See what's free to spend, move money with a slide, save with a shake. Feel good about your decisions.
Brian Vickers, Aaron's sponsored driver. He doesn't just love racing, he lives it.
He got the paper! Woo!
His pit crew follows him everywhere. Oddly, so does his boss.
Right, sign that. Yeah!
And his passion for racing is rivaled only by his passion for errands.
No credit needed. I'll take it.
Woo! Congrats.
Aaron's makes owning easy through lease ownership, so you can own the life you want.
You'll find it on the sidewalks of Little Italy and on the porches in Catonsville. You can see it when friends meet in Mount Vernon. It's pride. Pride in our city, pride in our people. That's why MedStar Health is building the most accessible healthcare system in the region to look after everyone from Lutherville to Locust Point. So no matter where you go, no matter who you are, you're never far from MedStar.
White Market's ice cream plant is based in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and it's locally owned and operated. We've been making our ice cream for nearly 50 years. We create roughly 70 flavors of ice cream right now. We use local ingredients, especially our cream, which is from our milk plant. The cream is what gives our ice cream a rich and creamy texture. Now, together with our customers, we've created a product called Peanut Butter Indulgence, which will be coming out this summer. It's a peanut butter ice cream with sea salt caramel swirl, and chocolate-covered pretzel. How could you go wrong with that? Personally, I love our ice cream. If you come to our house at any given time, you'll find at least 5 packets of ice cream in our freezer. Our kids grew up eating Wise quality ice cream, and now we get to treat our grandchildren to it. It's been a pleasure for me to be tasting ice cream for over 40 years for Wise Markets, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Welcome back to the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Marikas, joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. A guy that really stood out against the Seawolves was linebacker Jordan Minette. This is a guy that started the season at safety and has since converted to linebacker. He had 4 tackles, a sack, and an interception, and forced a fumble. As a coach, I guess you could say he's made the transition pretty well.
Well, you got to take the good with the bad, and those are exceptional plays. Right now, Jordan's more of a home run strikeout hitter. He's either going to do something really, really amazing, or he's going to do something really, really poorly, and that's a sign of a talented young guy, especially a talented young guy who's moved positions. But when we get him in the right spots, when he understands exactly what he's supposed to do, you're seeing the results of that. He's got some talent, a lot of potential.
We saw the defense against Maine. They played a great second half, save for the last drive. And then last week against Stony Brook, they did an excellent job the entire ballgame. And they only had 250 yards of total offense. You'd take that every day of the week.
Oh, gosh, yes. I know, and if you think about it, that's 6 quarters in a row where we've played pretty good defensive football now.
You hate to bring it up, but people talk about it all the time. The defense gets down because the offense isn't holding up their end. Or if the offense is playing really well and the defense is giving up 40 points a game, then the offense gets down because the defense isn't holding up their end. Mm-hmm. How do you keep the two sides from kind of getting on each other?
I'd say that's more an NFL mentality or a little kid's mentality, but not a Division I football team's mentality. That it's a team. It doesn't matter. And the first time that a player plays the perfect game, he can say something. But it's true. I mean, what mistake did you make as a player that hindered us for a play, and how did that make the difference in a game? So the understanding of that and how we work together, knowing full well that we may not play well for a series on defense, but we played well for a series on offense, or back and forth. And in a true team and a true family, you just pick each other up. The circumstances don't matter.
The Tigers suffering that loss to the Seawolves, and you look at the defensive side, and again, we talk about him every week. Donnell Lewis making big plays again. This kid's a human highlight film.
He is, and considering his size and stature, you wouldn't think so as a defensive player.
Yeah, he's a normal-sized human being.
Normal and Spiro-sized human being size. No one really remembers this, but he was a quarterback in high school. This was a recruiting projection of seeing him as an athlete who could run, that was physical. And we started him at corner. So he played a little bit at corner before he moved to safety. But I don't think any of us knew how good he really was going to be as a safety.
Chris Carpenter missed the first game. How has he started to get back into the flow of things?
Chris is getting better, but the rust was there. And it was obvious for the first couple games. And every game we get along, he gets a little more back to the Christian that we used to know. But he's still not there yet. And part of that has to do with reps. He's a guy who needs to see it. And for the time that he was out, and especially with his head, he couldn't see anything. He couldn't be in the sunlight. So he's better, but not where he can be.
On the offensive side, Spencer Wilkins had another couple big catches this past week. He's another guy that last year suffered a serious injury and missed the last third of the season. He slowly is developing to become the go-to guy for Connor Frazier, and right now, to be honest, Connor needs a go-to guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, Spencer's experience is serving him extremely well. That there's not a DB that he hasn't seen, that hasn't faced. It was, he's played against the best there is in the country, the All-Americans, and he's fared extremely well. The only thing that you notice with Spence is that the tires on the car are a little bit older, so the experience shows itself. But I was watching the film, and he broke a tackle on a third down. It was a great throw and catch. A year ago, that would have been an 80-yard touchdown. Instead, it ended up being a 30, 40-yard play. So, it's great to have him. He's a great mentor for the younger kids on how to be a Division I wideout. That it doesn't take hands. You got hands. It doesn't take speed. You got to have that too. But how you attack the game and how you attack your opponent and how to be a true professional at that position, we couldn't ask for more.
Andre Desenberg got a little more involved in the offense this past week. What about his progression this year?
Well, he truly is suffering a little bit from the sophomore slump. You know, having success as a freshman, he's let some of the distractions get in the way. And we've worked through the bumps in the road on that, but he's had a good week the week prior and a good week of practice, and he's having a good week of practice this week. So we expect him to keep growing and get through that. But once you acknowledge that you're in it, you can get out of it. But if you don't, then you're going to stay in it for a while. He's already acknowledged and he's moving forward.
The offense against Maine performed better than anybody else had performed against Maine all year, but it resulted in a loss. This week against Stony Brook, you just kept shooting yourselves in the foot, but we're moving the football. Where is the offense now as opposed to where it was week 1 against Central Connecticut State?
Well, you say where it was before Jake got hurt would be the continual growth of steps up a ladder, and so in some cases more than one step at a time. That if you can remove these turnovers, these useless turnovers, especially the ones that affect the points in the game, you would feel a lot better not only about our record, but about where we're going as a whole. And I've never been able to say in my career, it doesn't matter what I was coaching, what level or what position, that if I removed 3 plays, just 3 plays, that your record goes from 2-4 to 5-1. This doesn't happen. So it doesn't have to be the same play.
Right.
This means basically one play a ball game, and I could have changed the numbers. But that just shows you how the little things are important. Now this is going to be a challenge this week. That not having Jake, shuffling the offensive line, being to your 5th and 6th fullback, on your 3rd tight end and 2nd and 3rd center, and it's a challenge. But I can say that I told the kids I'm really proud of them, that they've risen to the challenge. They don't whine about this. They just go, okay, we're going to go. And we still find ways to be in these ball games. So for that being said, every one of these young guys that we're naming that's in this position, they are growing at a 10-fold rate through the adversity that they're getting. They're one step from being over the hump in all these cases. Like having a gun with not a lot of bullets in it, but you're almost getting there. So I think this is a big week for us. It really is.
Hopefully the Tigers get over that hump and get that first CAA victory this Saturday. Coming on the other side of this break, we will break down the Tigers matchup with the Dukes of James Madison. Before we go, let's take a look at this week's Tiger Tidbit presented by Under Armour. Did you know this is the 26th all-time meeting between the Dukes and the Tigers, which is the longest-running rivalry in program history, dating back to 1976.
When I'm working, things can get so hectic, so sometimes I need to find an easy way to express what's most important to me. Like with my crew, I use shorthand to tell them what I need. And when I need to talk directly to my fans, but the most meaningful shorthand of all is the one I use when I'm about to drive. #X. It's an easy way to tell everyone that I'm about to drive, and I do it every time before I get behind the wheel. Use #X to pause the conversation before you drive, because no text is worth a life.
Mariner Finance is a consumer finance company, so we offer personal loans.
Mariner Finance is a great place to work. It's a great thing for anyone with the entrepreneurial spirit.
Everybody in every office has an opportunity to achieve and grow.
Be your own leader. Be a leader amongst the fellow coworkers in your office.
The training and development that we do at Mariner Finance is one-on-one. Someone who has been there, done it, experienced it.
There is no better feeling.
Learn with us.
Grow with us.
Run with us.
Brian Vickers, Aaron's sponsored driver. He doesn't just love racing, he lives it.
We got the paper! Woo!
His pit crew follows him everywhere. Oddly, so does his boss.
Red, sign that! Yeah!
And his passion for racing is rivaled only by his passion for errands.
No credit needed. I'll take it.
Woo! Congrats.
Aaron's makes owning easy through lease ownership, so you can own the life you want.
This is where the legends live, waiting for someone with better innovation. From the brand that reinvented the t-shirt comes the Under Armour Speedform Apollo. This is our rocket ship.
Welcome back to the Tiger Football Report. I'm Spiro Marikas alongside the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. And the Tigers have officially wrapped up their longest homestand of the season, and now it's time to hit the road for back-to-back conference games, first against James Madison, then against Delaware. The Dukes are coming off a narrow win over a pretty good Albany team and find themselves at 3-3 overall and 1-2 in the CAA. This is an extremely important game as far as the conference standings are concerned, because if you can walk out of Harrisonburg with a win, you'll be tied with the Dukes and own the head-to-head over Madison. But that is most likely more of a concern of the fans. I'm sure you're going to stress to the team that it isn't about JMU at all. It's about Towson. But at the same point, JMU was in the same situation last week against Albany that the Tigers are in right now, having to go on the road at 0-2 in the conference. So you guys are in the same spot Madison's in, and I'm sure the coaching staff at Madison is making their players aware of that.
Oh, definitely. And, there's a underlying must-win attitude. But then again, when you're truly a competitor the way you do this week after week against who we play, that must-win attitude is like the air you breathe. So instead of focusing on records and stats and all that stuff, we've really kind of just boiled this back again to being about us, and that we're going to work on winning the next play. And we're going to go play really, really hard for each other. And if we can win this play at 6 seconds and win the next one and win more than we don't, then we'll probably build enough to actually walk out of that place with a win. It's a very hard place to go play.
I know coaches don't like to look at the stats all that much, but us media geeks do.
Okay.
Because we're not smart enough to coach a football team, so we have to look at
so you got to talk about
stats. Right, exactly. Madison is a team that is able to run the ball very well. Defensively, they've been challenged so far. You guys have played very well against the run. So obviously you're going to have strength versus strength on the offensive side, and they're led by Vad Lee, who's a transfer from Georgia Tech. So obviously if you're going to an ACC school and started at Georgia Tech, you've got a lot of talent.
Oh, clearly. No, he's a Division I caliber quarterback. He's a dual threat guy. He can throw it and run it. And even though he's a dual threat guy, some of those guys are scatty, quick. He's 220 pounds. And if you don't bring it, he will. So it's going to be a test for the defense. And it's one of those things where you're not going to shut him down completely. You're not. Nobody does. But you got to keep him from wrecking the game. And you have to play tough for 4 quarters against him.
How do you compare him to John Robertson of Villanova, who is another guy that can beat you with his feet and with his arm?
Very, very similar. And while we haven't played a dual threat quarterback this year of this caliber, it's not like our defense and our defensive staff haven't seen this. John Robertson is one of the best dual threat guys in the country. Tracy Adams at Eastern Washington was one of these guys. So it's about not letting them totally wreck games, keeping the big plays down, keeping the ball in front of you, and making them drive, making them be efficient instead of just being athletic. And the preparations that we have are similar, but not exactly. The schemes are not the same, but the style of quarterback is very, very similar.
Everett Withers is in his first year at James Madison, came from where he was the co-defensive coordinator at Ohio State. When you look at the tape of their first 6 games of the season, how different of a squad is this schematically compared to Mickey Matthews in all his years at Madison?
Very different. They're much more dynamic defensively than they used to be. They used to play basically one defense when Mickey was there and put the 11 best, fastest, meanest, toughest, strongest players they had and just let them run. And they did a great job. They were a great defense. And the good news is
a national championship.
Their all-world linebacker is no longer there. Yay. So gives us a better opportunity. But now they're playing a lot more man coverage. They're mixing up their fronts. They're making it more mentally challenging for the opponent.
They are giving up 35 points a game, though. And again, they're giving it up on the ground and through the air. So why have teams been able to move the ball against them?
Well, to be honest, the teams that they're playing, especially offensively, are extremely talented football teams. They played Villanova, who is one of the best players in the country. And there's a reason Villanova is ranked as high as they are. For what people thought Albany was, that is not what Albany is anymore. That they have talented players, and now they're all moving in the right direction. And this is one that really bothers me, but St. Francis, that while they can't throw it very well, they run the ball as good as anybody I've seen on film so far. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Oh, yeah, and by the way, they played Maryland, who has some pretty talented guys and some of the best wideouts in the country at any level. So they've played some really good offensive teams, and like I said, in the first half of the season, you don't really get a good flavor of what they can be. It's at the end when everything shakes out that you really kind of figure out who really is good on defense and who isn't.
So you're telling me that this is one of those things where the media geeks look at the stats and they see one thing, and you are looking at the tape and you're seeing another thing.
Tape never lies, and you have to know what they're doing and what they're trying to do. These kids are also growing into that scheme. It's the first year running this defense. So when a good offense faces a not questionable, but questioning defense, that there may be a gap or two that's left unprotected, and you can really strike that hard. And teams have done a great job doing that. Like I said, they're playing good offensive teams, so something's got to give.
You mentioned that going down to Madison, playing at Bridgeforth Stadium is a difficult thing to do. It's the biggest stadium in the conference. They draw extremely well. But you played at West Virginia, so it's not like these kids are coming into this game and saying, going to look around and go, oh, man, what is this?
Oh, no, the wow factor is over. We're done with that. That's fine. But it's an ardent fan base. They're very intelligent fans. They get into the game, into the flow of the game, to be as helpful as fans can be. You know, I've been told numerous times that when our student section gets going, this is the single worst place to play in the league. That's how dominating our fans can be. I would say in this, their sheer numbers put them in that same category. So depending on the type of game it is, the fans can make a difference.
Hopefully their fans are very quiet come Saturday at 12:30. We have to take one final break, but we will be back with more of the Tiger Football Report right after this.
Virtual Wallet can help you be that person who's good with money. See what's free to spend, move money with a slide, save with a shake. Feel good about your decisions.
You'll find it on the sidewalks of Little Italy and on the porches in Catonsville. You can see it when friends meet in Mount Vernon. It's pride. Pride in our city, pride in our people. That's why MedStar Health is building the most accessible healthcare system in the region to look after everyone from Lutherville to Locust Point. So no matter where you go, no matter who you are, you're never far from MedStar.
White Market's ice cream plant is based in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and is locally owned and operated. We've been making our ice cream for nearly 50 years. We create roughly 70 flavors of ice cream right now. We use local ingredients, especially our cream, which is from our milk plant. The cream is what gives our ice cream a rich and creamy texture. Now, together with our customers, we've created a product called Peanut Butter Indulgence, which will be coming out this summer. It's a peanut butter ice cream with sea salt caramel swirl, chocolate-covered pretzel. How can you go wrong with that? Personally, I love our ice cream. If you come to our house at any given time, you'll find at least 5 packets of ice cream in our freezer. Our kids grew up eating Wise quality ice cream, and now we get to treat our grandchildren to it. It's been a pleasure for me to be tasting ice cream for over 40 years for Wise Markets, and I'm loving every minute of it.
This is where the legends live, waiting for someone with better innovation. From the brand that reinvented the t-shirt comes the Under Armour Speedform Apollo. This is our rocket ship.
Welcome back to the Tiger Football Report. And Coach, before we go, I need to take a second to say thank you to the executive producer of the Towson Sports Network, Damon Lewis. This will be his final time with us as he is moving on to greener pastures, I guess, he thinks. And we just want to thank him for all he has done for the Towson Sports Network and his role as Director of New Media here at Towson. But Coach, thanks and good luck against Madison.
Thank you very much. And Damon, we wish you all the best.
The Tigers will hit the road for the first time since September 13th when they travel to Harrisonburg to do battle with the James Madison Dukes. Kickoff is set for 12:30 p.m., which means we'll go on the air at noon on the TowsonTigers.com and at 12:15 on CBS Sports Radio 1300 with the Coors Light countdown to kickoff. So if you can't make it down to Harrisonburg, be sure to tune in as Towson Hall of Famer Ron Meehan and I will bring you all of the action. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Tiger Football Report. Once again, I'm Spiro Maurikas. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk again real soon.